Picture this. You've just finished something genuinely good. And I don't mean just adequate or passable, I mean undeniably good.
Right. You know it in your bones.
Exactly. You know it. You felt it while you were in the trenches doing it. It's that incredibly rare moment of professional or creative alignment where everything just sort of clicked into place.
Oh, I love that feeling. It is so rare, but so distinct.
It really is. You hit send on the final proposal, or, you step off the stage after a keynote, or maybe you deliver a presentation that completely shifts the room.
Yeah, you can actually feel the energy change.
Right. And for about 5 glorious seconds, you feel a sense of genuine, earned pride. But then, almost immediately, before the dust has even settled on that accomplishment, a second voice arrives in your head.
Like clockwork.
Like clockwork. And it whispers something highly specific. It says, this is it. This time, they are going to see through you.
Yeah, this is the one where they finally figure out you've been getting away with it all this time.
Yes. Now, what if I told you the person feeling this wasn't like an entry-level intern on their first day, but someone with a Presidential Medal of Freedom and 11 best-selling books to their name?
It completely flips the script on how we view success, doesn't it?
It really does, because that feeling you just described, that sudden chilling drop in your stomach, is such a universally experienced phenomenon.
It is. And yet, in the moment it happens, it feels so uniquely isolating.
Right.
Like you were the only one.
Right, because that second voice operates with absolute, unquestioned authority. It just completely overrides the reality of what you just accomplished.
Exactly. And learning that it happens at the absolute pinnacle of human achievement tells us something is going on beneath the surface of our logic.
Oh, 100%. And I think the most frustrating part of this entire cycle is how we process the immediate aftermath. The praise comes in, right?
Yeah, people tell you it was great.
Your colleagues, your boss, your audience, they tell you it was great, but it just does not land. You field it, you deflect it, you instantly redirect the credit.
Yeah, you push it onto the team or you chalk it up to lucky timing.
Or you just convince yourself the bar was incredibly low to begin with. Meanwhile, the criticism, even the tiniest, most careless, offhand remark from someone who wasn't even paying full attention, goes in cleanly.
Oh, go straight to the core, like a poisoned arrow.
Yes, and it stays lodged in your brain for weeks. You can have a literal mountain of objective, verifiable evidence proving you are good at what you do.
But almost none of it reaches the place where you actually decide what you are worth.
Which sets up the core tension we are looking at today in this deep dive. I'm your host, and joined by our resident expert, we are going to dismantle this paradox of high achievement and self-doubt.
It's a profound, almost tragic disconnect between objective, verified success and subjective self-trust.
It really is. We are trying to understand why praise slides right off our armor while criticism finds the smallest gap and sticks around forever.
We are drawing our insights today from the fascinating work of Maria Fuentes.
Yes, she does an incredible job dissecting the psychology of high performers. She really does. She brings together these real-world case studies, stunning personal confessions from actual literary giants, and deeply foundational psychological research to explain exactly what is happening in our brains.
It's such a compelling synthesis of ideas because it moves us away from just, labeling this a bad habit or a confidence issue.
Right, those labels are so dismissive.
They are. Instead, we are looking at the underlying architecture of human psychology. This feeling of being a fraud is not a sign of failure. It is not a symptom of incompetence.
Wait, really? It's not.
No, paradoxically, it is a remarkably common pattern among high performers. And as we'll see as we dig into the research, it has a very distinct, recognizable, and frankly biological shape.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to move from that universal feeling we just described into how it actually manifests in the day-to-day grind. Let's look at a case study from the text of a woman we'll call Hannah.
Hannah is a perfect example for this.
She really is. Now, Hannah is a senior leader. Her track record is not up for debate. It is undisputed.
She is the person delivering consistently at a level that everyone else in the organization visibly relies on.
Exactly. If there's a crisis, they look to Hannah. She is the structural pillar of her department. But privately, her internal reality is completely disconnected from her external performance.
She is privately intensely certain that she is one single misstep away from being completely found out and exposed as a fraud.
And this is where we see what Fuentes so aptly describes as the excuse toolkit come into play. It is a brilliant, albeit heartbreaking way to conceptualize it.
Yeah, Hannah hasn't just passively accepted this fear. She has developed a highly efficient, proactive system for neutralizing any positive feedback.
Right, anything that threatens her internal narrative of being a fraud. If you praise her for a stellar quarterly report, she doesn't just awkwardly say thank you.
No, she actively dismantles the praise right in front of you.
It's almost like a reflex. She'll say, oh, the market was just exceptionally kind this quarter.
Or, honestly, the team really carried the weight on this one. I just stood there and presented their hard work.
Or even worse, well, the client's expectations were just so incredibly low, literally anyone could have impressed them.
Yeah, she has a ready-made, perfectly tailored explanation to ensure the praise never actually attaches to her own competence.
She is playing defense against her own success. It makes me think of a flawed spam filter on your email.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Imagine if your brain's inbox was set up so that every single legitimate positive email, the praise, the verified metrics of success, the literal proof of your competence, automatically gets routed straight to the junk folder.
You don't even see it. It gets deleted before you can read it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the junk mail, the random criticism, the unhelpful feedback, the one tiny typo in a 50-page report gets VIP access straight into your primary inbox.
It gets starred, pinned to the top, and marked as high priority.
Yeah. But here's where I get tripped up, and where I think a lot of you listening might be skeptical. If someone has a mountain of evidence proving they are competent, why doesn't that evidence reach the part of the brain that decides what they are worth?
It's the logical disconnect.
Right. Let's say Hannah just got a massive promotion and a massive bonus. You can't just excuse Toolkit a massive pay raise, can you? At some point, objective reality has to override the spam filter, right?
You would certainly think so if we were purely logical creatures. But that is the pivotal question, and it's where our understanding of high performers often falls flat.
Because what Hannah lacks is not the evidence of her competence.
Exactly. As you said, she has the promotion, she has the bonus, she has spreadsheets and performance reviews full of indisputable data.
So what is she actually lacking?
What she lacks is the ability to let that evidence count. The internal mechanism that converts the external fact of, I did a good job, into the internalized belief of, I am good at my job, is effectively broken.
Oh, wow. So the bridge is out.
That's a perfect way to put it. The bridge is out.
The cargo of praise arrives, but it can't cross over into her identity.
And here is the most tragic part of this condition. It does not respond to results. You cannot achieve your way out of a broken internal belief system.
Wait, so more success literally cannot fix it?
No, because the more successful you become, the harder that spam filter has to work to dismiss it. The belief that you are a fraud is entirely insulated from objective reality.
So you are basically constantly updating your algorithm to reject bigger and bigger compliments.
Precisely. The louder the applause, the more sophisticated the excuse toolkit has to become to drown it out.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this leads us perfectly into what is arguably the most jaw-dropping illustration of this entire concept in the text.
Yes, the Maya Angelou example.
Right. If you thought this was just a corporate middle management problem or something that only happens to people before they make it, we need to completely reset that assumption.
The contrast here is vital. We are deliberately looking at someone who had reached the absolute zenith of cultural, intellectual, and literary achievement.
We are looking at a master. To prove that more success doesn't cure this feeling, we are moving from the corporate boardroom of Hannah to one of the most celebrated, revered cultural icons in American history. Maya Angelou.
Yes, and it's important to really sit with what she achieved.
Exactly. I want to just slowly list her verified accomplishments exactly as the source text lays them out so we can really feel the immense crushing weight of her reality.
It's staggering when you hear it all at once.
It is. We are talking about 7 volumes of autobiography, starting with the legendary I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings in 1969.
A book that fundamentally changed American literature.
And then numerous books of poetry and essays. She received the National Medal of Arts in the year 2000. She received the highest civilian honor in the United States, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, in 2011.
Plus dozens and dozens of honorary degrees.
Right. Her words have literally been taught to millions of people. She provided real, tangible instruction to generations about courage, dignity, and self-worth.
And to be clear, those are not subjective opinions of her work. Those are historical, documented facts of her absolute mastery over her craft.
She is carved into the bedrock of literature. And knowing all of that, knowing the literal monuments built to her talent, she said this, and I quote, "I've written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody, and they're going to find me out."
It takes your breath away, doesn't it? To hear that level of vulnerability from someone so towering.
It is genuinely shocking. She was literally teaching millions of people how to stand tall, how to own their space and their dignity through her writing. Yet she couldn't extend that exact same grace to herself.
The woman writing the words didn't internally believe she deserved to be holding the pen.
How is that functionally possible?
What's fascinating here is the sheer vastness of the distance between two distinct realities. It is the distance between what Maya Angelou had objectively, undeniably achieved on the world stage and what she actually allowed herself to privately believe in the quiet of her own mind.
And it's crucial to note that this wasn't a beginner speaking, right?
Not at all. This wasn't someone publishing her first poem in a local paper, experiencing normal, expected first-time jitters. This was a master.
A woman with every single external marker of success a writer can possibly gather in a lifetime.
And yet, she was actively bracing to be exposed as a fraud after her 11th book.
It just completely shatters the illusion we all carry. We all have this secret bargain we make with ourselves.
Oh, the once I get bargain.
Yes. Once I get the next promotion or publish the next book or hit this revenue goal, the voice will finally quiet down. Then I'll feel real.
But if 11 books and a Presidential Medal of Freedom didn't cure Maya Angelou, that bargain is a lie.
We have to look deeper than just our resumes. We have to look at the actual machinery of the human brain. Because if immense success and consistent results don't cure the self-doubt, we have to turn to the science to explain why the brain operates this way.
And this brings us to a foundational piece of psychological research that helps explain the underlying hardware we are all running on.
Right, the 2001 study.
Yes, by the psychologist Roy Baumeister and his colleagues. They published a massive comprehensive review of research in the Review of General Psychology. The title of the paper really says it all. Bad is stronger than good.
That is a brutally honest, almost depressing title for a scientific paper.
It is, but the findings are profound and incredibly illuminating. They looked across multiple domains of human experience: relationships, learning, memory, emotion.
And what did they find?
They found a consistent, undeniable pattern. Negative events, negative emotions, and negative feedback carry a consistently stronger and much more lasting psychological impact than positive ones of the exact same size.
Okay, let's unpack this. What do you mean by the exact same size?
So, mathematically speaking, a criticism does not just equal a compliment and cancel it out. Let's say you find $50 on the street. That creates a certain spike of joy.
Sure, pretty nice spike.
But if you lose $50 from your wallet, the psychological pain and frustration of that loss is exponentially greater than the joy of finding the exact same amount.
Oh man, yeah, if I lose $50, my whole week is ruined. Finding it is nice for, like, an hour.
Exactly. And in relationships, researchers like John Gottman have found that it takes roughly 5 positive interactions to overcome the damage of just 1 negative interaction.
5 to 1. That's wild.
The bad outright outweighs the good. It doesn't just cancel it, it buries it.
It makes me think of a glass of clear, perfectly pure water. Let's say that water represents a year of your great professional results.
Okay, I like this visualization.
It's the praise, the glowing performance reviews, the successful projects, the high fives in the hallway. Then someone drops a single drop of dark ink into that glass. That's the one piece of sharp criticism.
Yep, just 1 drop.
It only takes one tiny drop to instantly cloud the entire glass. You don't look at the glass anymore and say, well, it's 99% clear water and 1% ink, so it's mostly good. You just see murky, ruined water.
The ink completely overwhelms the purity. That is the perfect visualization of Baumeister's findings. The brain is quite literally wired to prioritize the dark ink.
And if we look back at Hannah, our senior leader from earlier, this perfectly explains her daily reality, doesn't it?
It does. She can hold a year of strong, verified results against a single, careless, hard comment in a Tuesday morning meeting, and the comment wins every single time.
And the critical takeaway here, the thing that should offer immense relief to anyone listening, is that Hannah's brain is not malfunctioning.
No, she isn't broken. Her brain is doing exactly what human brains reliably do. It is weighing the negative more heavily.
Which, to be fair, makes complete sense from an evolutionary survival standpoint.
Absolutely.
Back in the hunter-gatherer days, ignoring a compliment from a fellow tribesman didn't kill you. But ignoring a sudden rustling in the bushes, that could be a tiger.
That negative stimulus required immediate, overwhelming attention.
But in a modern corporate boardroom or sitting at a writer's desk, that primal survival mechanism is completely misfiring.
Precisely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, The stakes of literal survival have been transposed onto our professional and social identities. A critique of your spreadsheet is processed by the brain's amygdala with the same alarm bells as a predator in the bushes.
So we understand how the brain processes negativity thanks to Baumeister. We have a biological negativity bias,
We do.
but I still have a disconnect. How does this biological bias specifically morph into this feeling of being an active fraud? That brings us to the second major piece of foundational research, the study that actually gave this specific feeling a name.
Yes. We are looking at a seminal 1978 paper published in Psychotherapy, Theory, Research, and Practice by psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes.
And they were the ones who coined the term, right?
They were specifically studying high-achieving women, and they coined a term that has since permeated our entire culture, the imposter phenomenon.
Okay, but why specifically women in 1978? What was the context there?
It's a great question. In the 1970s, women were entering the corporate and academic spheres in unprecedented numbers, often in environments where they were heavily outnumbered.
Right, the old boys clubs.
Exactly. And they were implicitly or explicitly told they didn't belong. Clance and Imes observed that despite outstanding academic and professional accomplishments, these women persistently believed that they were really not bright and had fooled anyone who thought otherwise.
It was a specific psychological defense mechanism against an environment that constantly questioned their validity.
Yes. And while we now know this phenomenon affects all genders and backgrounds, its roots in studying marginalized high achievers is incredibly telling about how external environments shape internal beliefs.
So how did Clance and Imes actually define the imposter phenomenon, beyond just feeling out of place?
They defined it as a persistent, private belief of being less competent than others think, coupled with a highly specific attribution error.
What does that mean, attribution error?
It means imposters attribute their success to external factors like luck, good timing, or a mistake on the part of the evaluators, rather than to their own innate ability.
Wait, that is exactly the excuse toolkit we saw Hannah using earlier. Blaming the market, blaming the team, saying the bar was low.
Exactly. So Hannah isn't just uniquely insecure. She's exhibiting textbook imposter phenomenon. Her excuse toolkit is a recognized psychological symptom.
Okay, but this raises an important question. What happens when a person suffering from the imposter phenomenon actually achieves more?
The paradox.
Right, because if we look at it logically, our brains would say the symptoms should decrease, right? More proof of competence should equal less feeling like an imposter. If you win the award, you should feel like you earned it.
But we already know from Maya Angelou that's not true. Her 11 books didn't cure it.
So what actually happens when an imposter succeeds?
It creates a terrifying, self-perpetuating loop. The research points out that for these individuals, the more they achieve, the more there is to protect. And consequently, the louder the fear of exposure grows.
So success doesn't bring relief, it brings higher stakes.
Exactly. Think of it as the con artist's dilemma. If you trick your way into a junior position, in your own mind, at least getting caught is bad, you lose an entry-level job.
Sure, it sucks, but you survive.
But if you trick your way into a senior executive role or win a Presidential Medal of Freedom, getting caught then is catastrophic. The pedestal gets higher, so the fall becomes much more dangerous.
Oh, wow. That is dark. So the success is literally weaponized against them by their own mind.
It is.
Okay, this brings us to what I think is the absolute climax of this entire analysis. We have these two distinct psychological frameworks we've just laid out.
The negativity bias and the imposter phenomenon.
Right. On one hand, we have Baumeister's research proving our brains are biologically hardwired to weigh negative evidence as exponentially heavier than positive evidence.
And on the other hand, we have Clance and Imes' discovery that high achievers often believe they're running a con and that every new success only raises the stakes of being caught.
Now, what happens if we take those two massive psychological forces and smash them together?
When you synthesize them, the great mystery of this entire topic suddenly clicks into place. It explains everything.
So what does this all mean? When we apply this grand synthesis to Maya Angelou's quote, it is mind-blowing. The math of this paradox is so clear once you see it.
Walk us through the math.
Okay, if you have a biological system, a human brain, that is fundamentally wired to weigh negative evidence as heavier than positive evidence, and indeed that brain belongs to a person who already deeply believes that their success is just a game they've run on everybody.
Yes.
To a system wired that way, 11 books do not register as evidence of mastery.
No. They register as 11 more chances to be found out.
Yes. 11 massive, public, highly scrutinized risks of exposure. Every single book published isn't a trophy on a shelf. It is a louder ticking on a time bomb.
It is a profound realization. When you view it through this dual lens, Angelou's quote stops being surprising. It stops being a quirky instance of false modesty or an endearing anecdote.
It starts being a perfectly logical, almost inevitable outcome of human psychology.
The stakes of being found out were impossibly high for her. We are seeing that her reaction wasn't a flaw in her character. It was the biological and psychological machinery operating exactly as it was programmed to.
The negativity bias looked at her 11 books and said, look at all this evidence they are going to use against you when they finally realize you don't belong here.
That's exactly what happened.
It is so liberating, in a weird way, to hear it described as a systemic mechanism rather than a personal failing. It takes the shame out of it.
It really does. It's not that you're weak-minded. It's that you have a highly functioning brain doing a job it wasn't supposed to do.
But now that we thoroughly understand the architecture of the problem, the negativity bias, the imposter loop, the synthesis of the two, we have to talk about the solution, because leaving it there is just depressing.
We can't just diagnose the issue and walk away.
Right. How do we actually start unwiring these deep-seated beliefs?
And the very first step in unwiring this, which is crucial, is understanding what doesn't work. And what definitively doesn't work is logic.
Oh, I am so glad we were talking about this, because you see this advice everywhere. You go on LinkedIn or read a self-help blog, and the advice is always just own your success, or just fake it till you make it.
Or write down 5 things you're good at and look in the mirror.
Yes, but it always feels so hollow. Why doesn't that logical approach work?
It fails because it misunderstands the nature of the problem. Fuentes makes a profound insight here. Asking someone to just logically accept their success is asking the conscious mind to repair something the conscious mind did not build.
Oh, that is a fantastic way to phrase it. Asking the conscious mind to repair something the conscious mind did not build.
The belief that you are a fraud, that you are one step from exposure, was not reasoned into place. You didn't sit down at age 25 with a spreadsheet, analyze the data of your life, and logically deduce that you are an imposter.
No, of course not.
Therefore, it cannot be reasoned out. This belief formed much earlier and much deeper in the subconscious. It formed in the same way that all of our foundational beliefs about our own worth, our safety, and our place in the world usually form often long before we even have the vocabulary to describe them.
It's exactly like trying to fix a deep, complex software coding error in your computer by just taking a microfiber cloth and wiping down the monitor.
That's a perfect analogy.
You can clean the screen all you want. You can put sticky notes of positive affirmations all around the plastic bezel. You can make it look incredibly shiny on the outside, but you are completely addressing the wrong level of the system.
The bug is deep in the source code, not on the glass. Affirmations are just wiping the glass.
Exactly. Affirmations are wiping the glass. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it completely changes the entire objective of personal and professional development in this area.
It does. The goal here isn't to get better results to prove to yourself that you are worthy. The results were never the problem.
Right. Hannah has great results. Maya Angelou had world historical results.
The goal is to shift that deep-seated belief at the level of the source code so that the results you already possess are finally allowed to count. You have to fix the mechanism that receives the praise, not just generate more praise.
And what does it look like when that shift actually happens? I think people might fear that if they lose their imposter syndrome, they'll become arrogant or they'll lose their edge. Does the negativity bias just magically disappear?
No, you're still human. You still have a brain forged by evolution. The ink still drops in the water.
But the reaction to the ink changes.
Entirely. When this deep shift happens at the source code level, the single hard comment stays a single hard comment. It is contained. It doesn't become a sweeping verdict on your fundamental worth as a human being.
That sounds incredibly peaceful.
It is. The praise finally starts to land. You can hear your boss say, "Good job," and you can actually absorb the dopamine of that moment rather than instantly deploying the excuse toolkit to deflect it. You maintain your humility, but you lose the terror.
So how do we actually do this? How do we access the source code? We need to move from the psychological theory of how to shift beliefs to the practical application.
And Maria Fuentes offers a fascinating framework for this, which revolves around a very specific concept of timing. She calls it the August window.
Okay, the August window. Tell me about that.
This is a very pragmatic, almost sociological observation about the rhythm of our working lives, particularly in corporate and academic environments. The concept suggests that August clears space in a way that the rest of the year simply does not.
Right. It is a natural lull. People are on vacation, projects slow down, the urgency drops.
Exactly, because if you don't use that natural lull, if
Yeah.
you just keep your head down and keep trying to outrun the pattern by achieving the next thing on your endless to-do list, September is going to come back fast.
And it will come back with the exact same braced, anxious feeling waiting right behind your next success. You have to actively set your armor down during the pause, or you'll just carry it right back into the busy season.
The pause is biologically necessary to reset the cortisol loops and the achievement treadmill. And this is where we see structured interventions come into play. Fuentes details specific avenues for using this temporal pause to rewire the brain.
Like what?
One example she provides is a structured 10-day rewire experience. It costs £47 and includes all 8 levels of her framework.
And what does a rewire experience actually entail? Because it sounds a bit abstract.
Well, looking at the mechanics of it, it includes guided levels of introspection, but crucially, it focuses on what she calls performance labs. And this is where we get into applied neuroplasticity.
I really love the concept of a performance lab. It sounds like a flight simulator for your emotions.
That is exactly what it is. It's designed to help you rehearse the exact moments your September will actually hold. It's actively practicing the act of letting the evidence count.
So if we think about Hannah again, how would she use a performance lab? She could use it to literally practice a scenario where someone says, Hannah, the quarterly report was brilliant. And instead of freezing, she rehearses the physical and verbal act of just saying, thank you, I'm really proud of the work we did. She practices not reaching for her excuse toolkit. She practices not blaming the kind market.
That is exactly it. It's about building a new neural pathway through repetition. In neuroscience, there's a saying, neurons that fire together wire together.
Ah, I've heard that.
In Hannah's brain, the receive complement neuron is tightly wired to the deploy excuse neuron. The performance lab forces her to fire the receive complement neuron alongside a new accept gracefully neuron.
You are rehearsing for reality in a safe, low-stakes environment so that when the real moment arrives in the high-stakes boardroom in September, your brain has an alternative, well-paved route to take instead of defaulting to the imposter response.
It's muscle memory for the mind. And for those seeking a more intensive approach, she also offers a summer reset, which focuses on 4 one-to-one practices.
And the stated goal of this is brilliantly simple and I think incredibly achievable. The goal is just one thing different by September.
One thing different. It's a powerful constraint. It's not about fixing your entire psychology overnight. It's not about achieving total enlightenment.
Right, because that's impossible.
Exactly. It's about making one tangible structural shift in how you process your own competence.
Because if you can change one thing, if you can learn to accept one compliment without deflecting it, or if you can let one piece of criticism go without letting it ruin your weekend, you've proven that the source code can be rewritten.
Which goes back to the core thesis of everything we've talked about today. You do not need more achievements. You do not need another degree.
You need a different way of relating to the achievements you already possess.
It is a profound shift from seeking external validation to cultivating internal reception.
Okay, we have covered some serious ground today. Let's briefly trace this journey back.
Right.
We started with Hannah, a senior leader whose brain acts like a flawed spam filter, deflecting all praise into the junk folder and hoarding all criticism in the primary inbox. We moved to Maya Angelou, proving that even a Presidential Medal of Freedom and 11 acclaimed books cannot cure this feeling, because the gap between objective achievement and subjective self-belief is so vast it cannot be bridged by mere success.
We then looked at the biological engine driving this phenomenon, unpacking Roy Baumeister's research on how our brains inherently weigh bad over good for survival.
And we combined that negativity bias with Clance and Imes' imposter phenomenon to understand the terrifying loop for high achievers. More success just means a higher tightrope to fall from. Every achievement becomes a ticking time bomb of potential exposure.
Exactly. And finally, we realized that we cannot logic our way out of a subconscious trap. We have to wipe the source code, not the monitor.
We have to rewire the deep-seated belief itself, using natural pauses like the August window to rehearse a new reality, to build new neural pathways, so that the results are finally allowed to count.
It is a total paradigm shift in how we approach our own capabilities.
It really is. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought, speaking directly to you listening right now. We noted that Maya Angelou kept writing through her doubt. She produced work that liberated millions, despite that vicious voice in her head telling her she was a fraud.
She didn't let it stop her.
Right. In many ways, it proves that doubt is often just a tax we pay on success. We just accept it as the cost of doing business, the price of ambition. But if we dig all the way down to the bedrock, this belief that you are a fraud, that you are one step from exposure, it was formed long before any of your current achievements.
It was not built by your current career, your current job title, your recent performance review, or your conscious, logical adult mind.
It is an echo from the past. It is a ghost in the machine.
Exactly. It was programmed into you by early environments, by societal expectations, perhaps by early authority figures who demanded perfection or who made their love conditional on your success.
So if you were to take a quiet moment today and really trace that second voice all the way back to its origin, long before your first promotion, long before your first real success, long before you even knew what a career was, whose voice was it really?
Who originally put that line of code into your system?
And more importantly, now that you know how the machinery works, are you finally ready to stop paying their tax?
That is the most vital question of all.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.